Hi, I'm Isaiah, the GM of Veridemir on Illidan, and this is the first of 3 Holy Paladin commentary videos I'll be making for Mandaforge Omega. I wanted to make these videos as we have many incredible Holy Paladin players in the WoW community, but none of them make commentary videos like this explaining their thoughts and why they do what they do during each pull. I hope by sharing my thoughts on how I approach Holy Paladin on the harder bosses this tier, I'm able to help you feel more confident going into your own progression on these bosses. This video isn't going to be a boss guide per se, but I will briefly describe the relevant mechanics to my thought process and healing decisions as we approach them. Now, I'm a firm believer that when someone is offering advice, you should consider the source before listening to them. With that in mind, here is a brief overview of my performance on Holy Paladin this tier. I'm not the best Holy Paladin in the world, but I feel that I have a strong grasp of the spec and how to approach these encounters. Please note, I have fewer kills on earlier bosses, as I swapped from DPS Druid back to Holy Paladin mid Nexus-King progression this tier. If you want to deep dive my logs and make a fully informed decision about my credentials, I'll leave links below to my main logs from the last 3 tiers. Now let's get into Mythic Dimensius the All-Devouring, but before we dive into the commentary, I want to make a quick pit stop at this slide to show you where my position is for each of the crushing gravity soaks in P2 and P3. As you can see, I'm in the center of the healer soak for each of these mechanics. Now, let's begin with P1. In P1, I'm primarily worried about these mechanics. The Devour, which does a large pulsing raid damage. Next would be the Massive Smash, which is a large single hit that knocks us quite far back. Dark Matter, which is a large single hit that leaves pools on the ground. Those pools do ticking damage, but they also increase the damage you take from all sources by 3 times while you're in them. And finally, Shattered Space, which is a large AoE explosion followed by a group soak. There are also 2 sources of passive damage in this phase. The Living Mass adds that you can see here damage a random player every 2 seconds for almost 3 million damage, as long as they're above 0% HP. Finally, Dimensius pulses raid damage every 2 seconds in Phase 1 and Phase 3. My goal for this phase is to have Beacon of Virtue in either Holy Prism or Divine Toll for each of the major damage events, as their damage and tempo means players will likely die if I do not. Phase 1 starts with a Devour, into a Knockback Smash, into Pool Drops, and then into the Shattered Space AoE. The raid must be topped or near topped for each of these events, or we risk player death. Luckily, after the first Shattered Space AoE, we get some breathing room to recover and allow CDs to come back before the next cycle of these abilities. So let's start here. So starting out, I start with 1 Holy Power, and I'm immediately getting my Divine Prism on CD. I want to do this so that it lines up with my Wing CD here in about 30 seconds. This also allows me to get some pre-healing out and get some progression towards my Awakening, which I'll need for a later damage event. I then am going to try and pop my Beacon of Virtue around 8 seconds. This allows it to last through most of the Devour, but more importantly, it lets it line up with all of the rest of the first cycle of mechanics. So we'll see here that I'm just spending my Holy Power, cycling it, trying not to waste Infusion of Light procs, and cycle towards my Judgment while not wasting Holy Power over healing. So here I'm going to pause, I'm going to wait, and as you can see, by spending at 8 seconds, my Beacon of Virtue is up about halfway into the Massive Smash cast. So I'm going to use this right before Massive Smash hits, and that will allow me to start topping up my side of the raid in the air, and have it prepared for our next pool drop here. So the pools are coming, this is my Wings window, so I Wings, I Divine Prism, and everyone is very safe for this one. And you can see that the tempo is very fast, right? Because now the Shattered Space AoE here is about to explode, which does a large tick of damage, and these adds are still hitting people every 2 seconds. Because I lined up my Beacon of Virtue at 8 seconds and then right before the knockback, you'll see it comes up right before this Shattered Space explosion again, which allows me to put the 5% DR in the raid, as well as start healing the second the damage goes out. I'm also assigned a mass here. I'm assigned masses twice throughout this phase. And I found if you are in the same position I am, that it's best to horse the moment you see these debuffs get selected and it's not on you, and run ahead of them and pick up the mass. Otherwise, you risk the back person running over your mass as they try to get into position, and that's just a wipe. Okay, so now healing is pretty low. There's not a lot going on until the next massive smash, so we're able to kind of recover, keep making progression towards my awakening, which I'm going to save for this next massive smash moment. My Aura Mastery is also here, so I'm going to use that. Now, for this massive smash, this is the cancel set that my raid leader calls for us, so I'm also going to bubble here and line up my beacon right before the smash and ignore the knockback entirely. So we beacon, I'm bubbled, I run to my drop position, I'm saving my prism and my divine toll for these next set of mechanics. So once my beacon's back up, I'm going to divine toll and beacon, do some healing, and once the shattered space explodes, use my divine toll to get everyone topped. We're moving into the next anti-gravities, into the next devour, so this is really a scary moment for the raid. At this point, what's going to happen here is we're going to pull these people down and then immediately have to gate to the center. So I want to get my Beacon of Virtue on CD immediately here, as it will carry through the first few ticks until we're in the center. The reason I only care about the first few ticks until we're in the center is we have a Resto Shaman who is going to be doing Spirit Link Totem in the center, and once we're there, everyone's totally safe. There's no healing that needs to be worried about. So my intention here is to just carry us through that first few moments, pop my own defensive, get these people down, gate, and then let the rest of the healers carry us through the rest of this Devour here. So pull these people down. Once they're down, gate, and then everyone is safe now. So at this point, I'm going to build back up to 5 Holy Power as I feel weak on this set. So I'm going to beacon, start healing in the air, and as you can tell, I'm kind of falling behind here. I don't really have too much, and this pull drop hits quite hard. So I'm just trying to stabilize. I'm going to spend Divine Toll the second I have it, so that we can live this shattered space. Spend my awakening and keep healing. Right, same thing, I run ahead of the anti-gravity people to pick up my mass and pull them down. At this point, our raid leader has called for a stop damage call, as we want to push around 235 for our current CD timings. I'm still going to spend my wings so that it's back up when I next need it. And just to smooth this out, beacon before the smash, as always, into my Divine Prism, and just heal. Alright, for this fight, there's a cool trick you can do, where the second you're fully mounted, if you do the upward ascent, which is macro to spacebar for me, into your normal dash forward, into the 3-cost dash forward, you'll actually get ahead of everyone else, because it removes the initial slow and the delay. I highly recommend you do this. It makes the flight much more comfy. So you'll see here that I mount, immediately hit my upward descent into my double dash, and I'm pretty far ahead of most of the rest of the pack. Don't do anything fancy here, there's no reason to anymore. Just let the people picking up the orbs pick them up and get to the platform. Alright, before we get into the platform, a few notes about Platform 1. I will say Platform 1, the healing check is much easier than Phase 1 and the entire rest of the fight. There's only really 2 major damage events, and that's the Gravitational Distortion, which is the soak mechanic, the split soak where you split into healers, melee, and ranged, that you'll have for the rest of the fight, as well as the Gamma Burst, which is the pushback. I'll talk more about the pushback because I feel that's the scariest part of Platform 1 when we get there, but let's continue. So I land, I'm immediately going to beacon, use my my Holy Prism, and start spreading my Dawn Lights. I'm also eating my Nexus-King commands buff so that I can get that extra shielding on people for some safety. And the moment I run down to 0 Holy Power, I'm going to spend my Divine Toll as well. The main reason for this is was originally in our progression we are doing the full Platform 1, and it was nice to have the Divine Toll up for the second half of this platform, which really helped smooth out the damage. Now, we don't need that. I could spend it elsewhere here as it'll be back up for platform 2, but old habits die hard. So this is the first pushback, and you'll notice that our 3 players with the lines are positioned up top here. They won't get pushed off, but they are going to take a large initial hit. So I will be beaconing them and divine prisoning them pretty much immediately, and I'm going into this pushback with 5 holy power. The reason for all of this is you're not going to be able to really stop moving during this pushback, and that's where all of the damage is. So I want to make sure that I have plenty of holy power and plenty of instant cast abilities to carry us through this moment. So I divine Holy Prism, and I start using my holy power spenders and holy shacks to carry us through. Now we just kill our Toshin here, so pretty easy platform. Not much else to say about that. That platform has become incredibly easy with gear and buffs. Same thing on this flight. Don't do anything crazy, just keep it nice and smooth. Do the same thing every time, and you'll be safe. No reason to risk getting there, or to try and get there 2 seconds faster and risk dying. Okay, Platform 2 is a much higher healing check than Platform 1. We still have the same 2 major damage events from Platform 1, which is the split soak as well as the pushback, but now instead of the frontal lines, he throws out orbs that players have to soak. If you're not assigned to soak, you don't have to worry about that, but you do have to worry about the dot it leaves behind on the players who soak. That dot hits incredibly hard and lasts the entire platform. The players with that debuff will need extra attention, and I recommend that you have some sort of weak aura that highlights those players. I use the optional one built into the Liquid Weak Aura pack. You can search for it and enable that. My wings are set at the start of Platform 2, so I'm popping them. I'm popping Holy Prism with wings, as always, and my beacon to keep people topped off. The moment that I'm done with my Rising Sunlights and my beacon is back up and I spend my Holy Power, I'm spending my Divine Toll. The primary reason for this is it smooths this moment out, but also it will be back up for the second Gamma Burst later, and you'll see that that's a really high damage part, and people start getting knocked off in LOS, so it's very spooky. We want all of the healing we can here. Now, I'm pausing here, because what is about to happen is this Void Warden is about to die, which allows us to cross over. But you'll notice that Paragoth's dumped his big circle where we have to walk, which slows you down massively. This is expected and what we planned for, but I will need to make sure that I'm Blessing of Freedoming myself and also hitting my Divine Steed so I can get across in plenty of time. So you see I Blessing of Freedom myself, I Divine Steed, I run across, I get into my soak. Now, if we look at my raid frames, you'll see that Ike Flyer, Sko Warzo, and Daticus all have the debuff because they were the first 3 people that soaked the orbs. I'm not worried about Sko Warzo. He's a tank, he can take care of himself, but Ike Flyer and Daticus do need extra attention. You'll see their health drops quite drastically after this explode because that dot hits very hard. So I'm focusing all of my Eternal Flames on them, trying to keep them up. I have my Awakening for this pushback, as well as my Beacon, which I make sure I cast on Daticus and hope it hits Ike Flyer, and I'm mainly focused on healing those 2 players. At this point, we're baiting the next orb, so 2 more people will have them, and I also bop Ike Flyer. This is just for the 15% DR from the talent, just to help him stay a little healthier through here. Early in prog, he would die a few times at this moment, so we adapted to healing him with this. You may notice I don't use Blessing of Sacrifice at all in this fight. Any moment that I tried to use it in prog where I felt it would save someone, like in this moment, ended up in me dying in their place, because the damage events can be quite heavy. So BOP is what we're using here. This set is gate, so I don't have to worry about freedoming myself. I'm just keeping everyone up. I'm making sure I use my Beacon of Virtue on cooldown to try and maintain healing and not fall too far behind. You can see Daticus is taking quite a lot of damage, and here I've spent my Divine Toll as we're about to get the wins and people are quite low. So I'm going to be doing my best to keep everyone above 60% health, as they will take a couple additional ticks after we're LOS from each other, and I don't want anyone to rot out when I can't heal them. So we're spending, I'm beaconing, we're still spending, trying to top people off, heal Bloody Boys, and heal Del once. Okay. So that was platform 2. We'll pause again here at the end of the damage amp before the next phase really starts, but here you can heal while you're falling, and I highly recommend you do. It just gets you a little bit ahead so that you can focus on DPSing during the damage amp. Once everyone's pretty much topped, I'm just gonna like Judgment, Shield of the Righteous, Crusader Strike, pump Holy Shocks into Dimensius for a few seconds. I want to save this Awakening for my Wings window here. And I also want to get to 5 Holy Power before these planets start dropping. Okay, so now the planets are about to start, and we're going to talk about Phase 3. So Phase 3 can be the most hectic part of the fight, and is the hardest phase on the healers in my opinion. This is mainly due to how the damage happens. Almost all of the major damage events in P3 occur during moments of heavy and precise movement. So that means you are not going to be able to plant, you're not going to be able to get spam flashlight to get extra holy power. You have to have a plan for your movement and make sure you have enough holy power and instant cast abilities or people will die. The major damage events for this phase are first Extinguish the Stars, where he drops all of the planets. Each one does a large tick of damage. Although I'm not too worried about this because our Mistweaver is using Yu'lon here and carries that entire damage event. Next is Darkened Sky, which is generally referred to as rings. Each of these hit the raid for a large amount and leave a debuff for 3 seconds. If a player gets hit by a second ring before the debuff falls off, they are almost certainly dead. Finally, we have 2 returning mechanics from Phase 1 and Phase 2. We have the Devour from Phase 1, which does large ticking damage, and the Gravitational Distortion, which are those split soaks by team. So our main focus here is going to be as the rings tend to be the most hectic mechanic. So we'll see here that during the drops, I am using Light of Dawn, I'm spending my Holy Prism, I'm spending my Divine Toll to get them on cooldown and get them cycled. Build towards my next Awakening. We move towards the rings. We want to plant right in front of the ring and hit my wings, use my Awakening to extend wings, and then beacon after the first tick. This allows my beacon to last through the majority of this mechanic and allows me to use all of my Rising Sunlights from my wings to keep people topped. We're moving into our Devour, so we're going to pre-position next to our planet. I found for me, it's safer if I get in the planet like a second and a half early, so I'm not worried about getting in last second while still healing. I did get sucked in a couple times, so I'd rather just take an extra tick or 2 of damage and ensure that I'm there to keep everyone alive. So I'm going to start healing, I beacon, I get in the planet, I'm going to use my Holy Prism and my Aura Mastery and just keep healing while I'm moving. Here you want to micro adjust back into your position and then try not to spend any major CD. Don't spend any real throughput here, topping off after this event. We have a few seconds after this before the next ring mechanic, and it's totally easy to just top everyone off without spending anything. This ensures that we have Beacon, we have Divine Toll, we have our Awakening proc for the next ring set here. So I'm building to 5 Holy Power, the next rings come out, I run to it, I plant right outside. I'm going to throw my Judgment to Awaken into Beacon, and I'm going to start healing. Here, I don't care that I'm overcapping Holy Power with Divine Toll. As you can see, the damage comes out pretty quick, and people are starting to get close to dying, and I need to heal them in the next 2 seconds. Otherwise, this ring is going to kill them when it hits them. So I'm healing, try to top them. You can see Del died there because we just didn't quite get enough throughput out. Now we have the next mechanic, which is the split soaks here. It's on me. I plant in the middle and just wait. And I'm going to try and top people before this event because this does hit quite hard into the pole. Okay, and then again, in between these mechanics, you have some time. Don't panic. Don't be spending your holy shocks. Don't be spending your beacons. Just heal them up with your flash of lights. Heal them up with spending holy power. Try to maintain charges of all of your main abilities for this. This third one here, I feel weakest, as I don't have Divine Toll, I don't have Awakening, but I will have Beacon, and near the end of it, I will have my Holy Prism as well. So we move, again, same thing, we plant outside, take the first hit, use our Beacon, use our Holy Prism, and spread our Dawn Lights, right? Keep everyone up to the best of our ability, plant for our pole here, and just, keep people alive. Here I do spend my beacon as things start to get kind of hectic and we are immediately going into a devour. So in this devour, I make sure that I use my awakening proc because this is the next damage event, and I'm focused on healing the lowest health members of our group, taking advantage of our talents that give us extra healing and crit chance when we heal low health targets. And next is then a big explosion from the planets. So this is going to take quite hard, but again, all I'm spending here is my beacon, use my Holy Prism, I'm going to use my wings here because the boss at 4%. And yeah, that's the end of the fight for the most part. Just don't get pulled in, keep avoiding these planets, and kill the boss. With that, Dimensius is dead. I hope this video helps you with your own progression of this incredible and challenging boss. Please comment below if you found this video helpful, and stay tuned for my next 2 commentary videos, which will be on Nexus-King Salhadaar and the Soul Hunters. Thanks!